So good morning everybody, welcome to our co-hosted webinar around MiFID II. I'm Andy Dunbar, I run the technology services business for Software One across UK Ireland. Today Software One and TeleWare have engaged in working together to talk you through and help you understand what MiFID is, the challenges, some of the technical considerations and the compliance mechanics in achieving MiFID II. Hopefully after today's session you'll have a clear understanding of MiFID II, so the benefits it can bring and how we, Software One and TeleWare, and the solutions that we have can assist you in working through the challenges and realise the benefits of MiFID. With me today I've got Vicky Ryder of TeleWare, who will help you kind of talk you through some of the components of MiFID. So handing over to you, Vicky. Morning, Vicky.
Morning, Andy. Thank you very much. So good morning all. We're going to talk you through some findings from some research that we commissioned in June this year with an independent consultancy. We asked Censuswide to target 100 financial services decision makers that would have an awareness of the impact of MiFID on their business. And our objective here was really to understand how ready firms and organisations are, what the main challenges they see as they approach the January the 3rd deadline, and we're just going to take you through those findings. The first question that we posed to our respondents was, which of the following best describes the level of awareness of MiFID II in your firm? And that was 42% said people are aware of MiFID II and are familiar with the requirements. 47% of our respondents said that people are aware of MiFID II but still need some education on the details. 7% responded that more education is needed, people are not aware of MiFID II and are not familiar with the requirements. And 4% said that only those that will be responsible for MiFID II are aware and familiar with the requirements. So from this, we see that it's really reassuring that awareness is high, but it's very telling at this point in time on the 14th of September that the majority of people are aware of it, but that lots more education is needed. And as we drilled into some of the raw data that we received as part of the respondents, we see different perspectives in women and men as well. So of the 47% that said that more education was needed, 60% of those respondents were women, whereas the 42% said that they were familiar with the requirements and knew what they had to do. That was actually 66% men. And we've also seen a split in geography as well in terms of the output here, and firms outside of the South East and London seem to need more support and are looking for more education as they approach the MiFID II deadline. So that's a really good high-level summary really of kind of where we've seen the market actually as well, and about how that education process has really got to ramp up as we approach the 3rd of January. The second question that we asked the respondents was, which of the following best describes the level of readiness in your firm for the January 2018 MiFID II implementation date? So we've broken this down by the number of employees in an organisation, and quite telling, you'll be able to see that 100% of what we would class as a SOHO organisation know what they need to do and have a plan in place to get there. There was quite a split across the respondents when their response was, there is a lot to do, it's uncertain if we'll be ready on time. And again, quite telling that over a third of the 50+ user organisations are unsure of that readiness. And then quite stark from some people are working really hard on it, but not everybody is bought in perspective. It's concerning that at an enterprise level, almost 20% of the respondents that they're saying that buy-in for MiFID II is lacking within their organisation. We're seeing as well that ready on time, inverted commas, is very much open to interpretation. So given that the regulator is requiring a plan of implementation as well as having seen some services implemented, that readiness is becoming very much open to interpretation firm by firm. And clearly here as well that you'll be able to see the split as we start to go through the SME and into the enterprise around actually what organisations need to do to be ready. And what that plan looks like. Question 3. One part of the directive relates to communications monitoring through record keeping, trade reconstruction and surveillance. What are your biggest concerns about this part of the directive? So I'm just going to run through the options that we gave the respondents. So this included safe data storage, technical capability to record all types of required communications, technical capability to record the sheer volume of required communications, the increased cost of data storage, technical capability for accurate trade reconstruction on demand, and we have no concerns about this part of the directive. So you can see from that bar chart that actually the security and storage costs are of a big concern across the entire respondent base that we've surveyed. We are absolutely observing in the market that MiFID II is certainly a catalyst for cloud adoption within a lot of organisations. We've been talking about a cloud journey for a long time now, but when we start to perceive up to 7 years storage costs for an increased user base of employees who need to be recorded and multiple communication challenges, multiple communication channels, that data storage is obviously hot on the priority of a lot of the respondents, and I'm sure that's certainly what you're seeing within your organisation. From a data storage and the safe data storage perspective, the security concerns in the sort of sub 249 group, as we dig a little bit deeper into this data explosion means that cloud exploration, whether organisations are on some sort of a cloud journey or not, stuff that may historically have been managed in-house and had cost control against that, actually now needs to be readdressed, and then that becomes a much broader IT discussion as opposed to just a MiFID compliance conversation. So these results we really thought were absolutely in line with what we're seeing and with the customers that we're talking to and the partners with which we're engaged. But it was quite interesting to see the spread of that across SOHO, SME and enterprise. Question 4. What benefits do you think the MiFID II directive can bring to your business? So this is quite a nice split, as you can see, fairly even across the board, but better employee working practices, improved business efficiency, improved customer experience, greater customer insight, and then a single individual decided that they didn't see any benefits to their business. Really good that almost all respondents are able to see the impact that MiFID II or implementation of technology for MiFID II compliance will have some sort of effect on their business. And actually, again, this does absolutely stack up based on our experiences with the customers that we're talking to, that the implementation of appropriate technology and being able to harness that brings and delivers tangible benefit to organisations. And finally, question 5, what are the main areas of investment you have made so far for MiFID II compliance? Again, quite a nice split on this. Around IT infrastructure, people and training, people and recruitment, external consultants, and then we have not made any investment for MiFID II compliance. We are absolutely seeing technology as an enabler with MiFID II, and clearly as are our respondents. The main point here is absolutely investing in the right tech is paramount as you go through this decision-making process. It's about the right vendor, it's about working with the right partner, it's about understanding and making future-proof decisions. And actually, TeleWare customers have been seeing these benefits for over 6 years now with our FCA compliant solutions. And with that, Investing in IT for compliance is absolutely around, we said there, about making the right decisions. Lots of you will have multi-vendors on portfolio, but when it comes to record keeping and that compliance administration, a multi-vendor, not a strategy, but having multiple vendors in the mix with multiple record management tools, and also then putting into play costly storage, which will bring unpredictable costs, is certainly going to be hot on the agenda of you guys now as you're assessing your MiFID II strategy. And that's why as TeleWare, we've absolutely built our business. We're a cloud-native organisation, and for us, cloud brings the answers when we're trying to assess with customers what their MiFID II strategy should look like. It future-proofs technology. It allows you to have financial predictability, and we absolutely want to go on this journey with you and with our partners like Software One in order to deliver technology and deliver solutions that are that fit your business model, that fit your strategy, and ensure your MiFID II compliance. I talked then about having a multi-vendor, having multiple vendors on portfolio. As TeleWare, we would be your recording partner for all communications, delivering that single supplier. We can work with you on Skype for Business, we can work with you on your mobile, we can work with you on your traditional fixed line as well. All of the communication types that do need to be captured as part of MiFID II, TeleWare can be your recording partner in order to deliver, to capture and record those communications. And how we've approached our technology is that we also want to give you as our customers the absolute choice of where your data resides as well. So we're going to talk shortly around Azure and what that brings, but we are absolutely aware that organisations have existing infrastructure and asset that they're going to need to sweat. And if that's the case, then we will work with you to deliver solutions that bring that choice right back to you, to enable you to see some ROI, to enable you to be compliant, and absolutely to go on that journey and get you into the cloud when you're ready. Sorry, just bear with us a second, just checking. Oh, thank you. So we're talking a lot about IT investment. We're talking about a potentially P&L affecting decision and investing in new technologies. But what we're saying is that it doesn't have to be a grudge purchase, and those firms that invest will be best placed to meet business and market changes, predict customer trends, retain and grow. It isn't about purely a bottom line cost and creating these huge data lakes of data at rest that is absolutely useless. The approach that TeleWare are having to this to MiFID II regulation changes, yes, we're creating these very large data lakes, yes, we're capturing lots of new customer information. What can we do with that, and how can we enable you as our customers to generate some more meaningful insights, to get to know your customers better, and as we said, predict those trends, retain those customers, and grow as an organisation. And what that means, so we've talked about cloud, and I've mentioned Azure, so we can help by putting both financial predictability in place, so you're able to scale and store based on the MiFID II requirements, but absolutely putting that data into Azure allows us to harness it and to start to understand more about the communications. We have access by being in Azure to cognitive services, which gives us the ability to do sentiment analysis, intent analysis, tonal analysis, as people have been on the telephone. It allows us to do pattern spotting, to do trend analysis. It allows us to do speech-to-text conversion. And you think we create all of these pockets of information on customers with the ability to integrate that into a dynamic CRM or a CRM tool. You can create a single record for a customer that understands their entire communication track. You can start to understand how often they they are engaging with you, what they're engaging with you about, and actually then start to make some clever decisions around how you can cross-sell and upsell into those customers, how you can deliver a better customer experience into your customer base, and how you can also then obviously retain the best staff and motivate staff by giving them the best tools and coaching and training by understanding the communications at a very base level. I talked about TeleWare's approach to MiFID II, and one of the main elements of our solution is what we're calling this unified recordings interface. We talk about being MiFID II compliant and having a plan to get to MiFID II compliance. That's only one half of the story. The second half of this story is all around the ease of administration and understanding how to unburden your compliance managers and not to have significantly increased overheads as we get into MiFID II in January 2018. TeleWare becomes a single repository for all your communications. I showed you a list earlier of the number of channels and the communication types that we can record. We will then put all of that into a single repository, which allows you not only to see and manage the recordings, you can add notes to those recordings, you can search intuitively on users, and that allows you from a compliance perspective to be able to respond to the regulator's requests effectively, quickly, and not need a team of 17 people managing multiple vendors and multiple recording repositories. Our analytics proposition, so I just talked about that, those meaningful insights, and our analytics capabilities fundamentally being baked into our unified interface. You'll see on the right-hand side of the screen, we've got a WAV file there with some red flags marking where some keywords have been said. And actually then if you click on those red flags, you'll be able to see a speech-to-text transcription so that you can understand the context. So again, this is absolutely, as a compliance manager, being able to see, we've given 20 red flag words, and we want to make sure that we need to understand the context of when these words are being said across our user base. This gives a compliance manager a really quick and easy way to be able to understand what the users are doing, understand what words their customers are saying, and again starts to build that picture and meaningful insights on your community, whether that's customers and colleagues. I'm going to tell you a little story now and talk to you about one of our customers. You guys will all know that it becomes quite a challenge being able to reference in the financial services market, so I can't tell you who the customer is. But in this instance, we were working with a large institution who had deployed a competitive solution to TeleWare in the form of an app on a mobile for the users that needed to have their communications compliantly recorded. We were dealing with the head of information security, who was a gentleman that lived on the east coast of the States. So he was some 5 hours behind us in the UK when he started his day. And the user experience was so terrible with this application that he would dread logging onto his mailbox in the morning and becoming online, because the number of disgruntled users who, quite frankly, probably weren't sharing their dissatisfaction in a measured manner, was causing him, and became his day job in managing some very, very upset users. TeleWare were invited in to come and have a conversation based on our capability for mobile recording, our SIM-based mobile recording capability. Clearly, this was a more challenging decision because of a previously bad implementation or technology that didn't work. So we went through some very, very stringent due diligence with this customer. We ran a very clear proof of concept. What did they want to achieve? Which users we were going to run the proof of concept with? And what was going to be the success criteria in order to deem TeleWare's solution as a success? We went through with this customer that entire process. And actually, in terms of the success of the proof of concept, it was a huge success, and we won this particular customer. It wasn't just about the technology working though. The TeleWare approach of being able to minimise disruption to a user. So if we have to do a SIM swap, how do we manage that? And it wasn't just about explaining to our head of information security what the technology can do, but it was about how we would take him on that migration, how we would implement the TeleWare technology, how we would help him with his compliance requirements as well. So what reporting did he need? How could we make some things more efficient for him? And we absolutely, this customer has been working with TeleWare now for over 7 years. We have very few problems with this customer, and they're very, very satisfied. But this is absolutely the message here is around us being the experts from both a compliance perspective and fundamentally from our technology perspective as well, how we approach it, how we deploy, how quickly we can do all of those things, and how satisfied our customers are. So we've covered 20 minutes now of some findings that we've seen through the independent research that we commissioned, and then obviously how, as a MiFID II impacted organisation, TeleWare and Software One would be able to help you on that journey and go on that journey with you to MiFID II compliance from both a technology perspective and also that administration perspective. And it really doesn't matter as well. So obviously the market is all about MiFID at the moment, but we've been working with the FCA now for some 7-8 years, absolutely understanding the impact on your organisations, and how working with TeleWare can enable you to meet those regulatory requirements should they want to investigate your organisation or ask any questions. But it's about understanding what evidence you would need to provide, and how compliantly though, and how the technology enables you to compliantly record. So that's it from me, Andy.
That's great. Thanks, Vicky. So as you can see, there's a lot of really kind of useful information there. As a call to action, please do reach out to us if you want some additional information. We've put together a really well-positioned kind of white paper as well, which kind of puts a lot of this content into context and allows you to kind of look at it in a little bit more detail. We've also put together an accelerated production pilot as well, which can launch your journey to MiFID II compliance as well. So do please kind of reach out to us and engage with us to kind of talk to you about this as well. But if that's it, we open up the floor to any questions, really.
Thanks, Andy. Yes, we've had the first question. So this is the first question coming around deployment. If we were to choose TeleWare, how quickly can you deploy? So that depends on technology and user base, but we are a software-led organisation, and we would work with you to deploy methodically, to deploy as quickly as possible with as minimal user disruption. All of our technology is based on no user impact and no user disruption. So we want your guys to be able to carry on doing their job, whether that be Skype for Business recording, whether that be an efficiently managed SIM swap onto TeleWare Mobile. But we've deployed at pace. The customer case study I talked about earlier, we were deploying 125 we were doing 125 SIM swaps a day, and rolled out 2,500 users in just over a couple of weeks. So again, to suit your time frames, but the technology is ready. We would work through some methodical planning and scope of works to make sure that user impact and that technology impact is as minimal as possible. Any more questions? There's a question actually just coming now around who needs to be recorded from an organisation perspective. So one of the elements we talk about in the white paper is that obviously MiFID brings a much broader and deeper spectrum of employees. because we are now not talking about recording on a trading floor at the point of sale, but we're talking about conversations, whether they be internally or with a client, in the run-up to, leading to, and at the point of sale. So again, all of this information is available in the white paper, and we'll work with you to make sure that the recording is applied, obviously, to the most to the appropriate employees. A few more questions have come in now. So here's a question: has there been any examples or indication of the potential fine scale for call recording breaches yet? So yes, again in the white paper, but this is up to 10% of global turnover. So from a risk register perspective, along with GDPR, FRTB that's coming along as well, MiFID II poses a significant risk to an organisation for the breaches, for the inability to evidence to the regulator. So yeah, that's up to 10% of global turnover. I've just checked just to clarify, and at least 5 million euros. So up to 10% of global turnover, at least 5 million euros. Question: hi, I have joined a bit late, unfortunately. In South Africa, we have very strict privacy compliance regulation that has just come into effect. OP legislation, part of this legislation requires personal information to be stored within the confines of South Africa. How would you accomplish this? So I'd very much like to have a conversation with you, if you could pop your details or reach out to us. I think my contact details will be issued. But the working in Azure means that we can store your data in any Azure region. So we would be able to build the database to be able to push the recordings in, so that you could access them via the URI, the Unified Recordings Interface. But it doesn't matter where that Azure region is. We can build that for you in South Africa.
Yeah, and then just on that as well, Vicky, Software One, a global company, we've got some footprint in South Africa. We've also got very close relationships with some of the telco providers in South Africa, who've got direct links from South Africa from South Africa and WECA into the direct data centers across Asia and into Europe as well. So it negates any latency issues there as well. So we can talk around the architecture that's required to deliver and still maintain level of compliance through South Africa as well. So so we can certainly take that offline. Yeah, brilliant. Thanks, Andy. Absolutely. I think that's a really important point around that global footprint, and that's why TeleWare work with Software One to enable us to service customers in these territories. Another question that's come in: so for record-keeping requirements, are the records time-stamped for accuracy? Absolutely. So as part of the FCA requirement, which is underpins our solution, the digital signature that is applied to our recordings gives you time, date, as in hour, minute, second, timestamp on UTC. So absolutely, that digital signature and the metadata that is required then to allow it to be admissible in a court of law, should it be required, is fundamentally part of the technology. Question around storage again here. Can you guarantee that where are the calls stored? Can you guarantee that it will be UK based? If that's a requirement, then absolutely. So TeleWare data centres are absolutely in the UK at the moment. As I say, we have global footprint by utilising Azure. But if you need your data to stay in the UK, we will absolutely ensure that. Does the transcription support multiple languages? Again, this is why, as a strategic decision for TeleWare, we chose Microsoft Azure, and absolutely yes. So the languages that are available, because we are obviously going to be beholden to what's available in the Azure factories, but yes, there is support for multiple languages, and I'd be very keen to pick up on that conversation to see what the requirement is, and how, if there's any onward discussion that we need to have about that. Thank you for that.
There's been a question here. The discussion is mostly around record keeping of non-trading parts of MiFID, i.e. electronic communications. Does your solution also address the requirements for compliance for trading part of the requirements for trading part of record keeping? So this is a brilliant question. So our strategy and the heartbeat of our organisation is absolutely around communication, which is why we have the ability to import the communication recordings into the likes of a Bloomberg Vault, into the likes of a Reuters, but we don't capture the trading turrets. So let's, I very much again like to have that conversation with you about how we draw all that together. As I say, the ability to import the recordings from TeleWare into a single repository, whether that be Bloomberg or onwards, is available, and I'd like to pick up on that conversation if possible, to understand a little bit more about what you're currently doing today. The final question that's come in is, does the record repository allow information to be consumed into surveillance or analytic platforms? So I think if I assume correctly, this is around downloading and taking the information out of the TeleWare platform and pushing it into another third party. It's your data. You can do with it what you want. We have the ability to download within the portal. If you have a specific requirement where we would need to do some bulk transfer, whichever platform it is that you're trying to get the information into, again, very much like to have that conversation. That's absolutely something that we can do. We work with a lot of customers where we push their recordings into a SFTP landing zone. But yes, this is absolutely your data. We talk a lot about pushing it into Azure for predictable storage and scalability, but if there's another mechanism that you need as an organisation, then we will absolutely work with you to enable that to happen. Well, that's the questions that we've had in. And that takes us nicely to 11:30. So unless there's anything else, I want to thank you all very much for joining. It's been a pleasure to talk to you all this morning. And as we've said, please download the white paper, and we will follow up in order to pick up on some of these specific conversations that we've had during the question and answer session. Anything else that you want to ask, please do not hesitate to give us a shout. Thank you very much.